All right, guys, before we jump into today's video, I did want to let you know that we have a promo going on over on the Fade Me store right now. If you use code WEEK4, you can get 20% off site-wide. No minimums, no restrictions, just 20% off. Go support what we're doing and pick up some great merch at the same time. Again, fademe.store. Now let's jump into the video. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thursday night football, week number 4. We got the Packers taking on the Lions. Little rivalry game here right now. The Packers sitting at 1.5-point dogs at home. The total is sitting at 45.5. Green Bay 2-1 on the season, 3-0 against the spread, 1-0 at home. Detroit also 2-1 on the season, but they're 2-1 against the spread, and they are 1-0 on the road. I have a spread pick for you guys in today's video, and then 2 player props, so a total of 3 picks, and a couple leans I want to throw out there related to the player prop. So a decent amount of picks in today's video. Before we do jump into it, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. We hit 30,000 subs last week. Let's pump in some crowd noise. Thank you guys so damn much. Like, seriously, thank you so much. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Like the video as well. And before we do get started, I want to talk to you about Sleeper. If you guys are not on Sleeper yet, you are missing out. You're sleeping. Check out the link in the pinned comment, guys. You can get 100% of your first deposit matched up to $100. You throw in $100, Sleeper's gonna go, here's $100 more. You'll have a new account balance of $200, and again, it's up to $100. You want to throw in 25, they'll match with 25, 50, etc., right? Guys, if you don't know what Sleeper is, it's probably my favorite pick'em app out there right now. Obviously in the likes of Prize Picks and Underdog, that type of thing. But what makes Sleeper unique is the fact that they have the dynamic payout. So each and every player you put in your slip, and you put 2 to 8 players in a slip, the more right you get, the more money you get for winning. But you pick those players. Each and every one of those players has its own multiplier, meaning you can win up to 100 times if they don't follow the fixed payout structure like the other apps that I mentioned. So make sure to check out Sleeper today. I bet they will have some promo squares going into the weekend. They've been dropping them for Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, as well as Monday Night Football. Plenty. So make sure to go check those out. Plenty of Sleeper squares. Like I said, they dropped 3 at a time last week, which was absolutely crazy. 100% of your first deposit match. Use the link in the pinned comment. Now let's talk some football. We're starting it off with the spread pick here, and it may be a money line pick, okay? So keep an eye in the pinned comment where I'll kind of note which one I'm rolling with, but I do like the Lions in this spot. I think they've been a tad more consistent. The Packers had to come back last week against a Jameis Winston and obviously the Saints there. They could have been looking at a loss and had the same exact record that this Detroit team happens to have against the spread, right? And just from a DVOA perspective, Detroit here, top 10 when it comes to overall DVOA at 9, Green Bay ranking 12th, 7th in offensive DVOA, which I do like to see. I do think that they have some weapons on the offense that, you know, haven't even gotten into full effect here. Sam Laporta being one of them. The guy's getting tons of targets. I do think that he's going to be a factor in this game. Stay tuned for the player props. Obviously, Amos St. Brown being a stud over there. And then a duo at running backs really makes that offense well-versed. And I'm not knocking the defense here of the Packers, but I don't really think that they've had to play the toughest of offenses so far. So any sort of DVOA metric from them on the defensive side of things, which they do rank top 10 in DVOA, I think is a tad bit skewed here. Playing Chicago, playing Atlanta, and then playing New Orleans. Now, I know DVOA takes into account, you know, obviously the opponent you're playing, in which if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much just a metric that says how successful you've been taking into account the opponents you've been playing. So you play a bad team, that type of thing, that's taken into account. But when you look at it from a Dave perspective, which pretty much also factors, I know I'm throwing a lot your way, you factors in sort of the early variance, they do drop just a tad bit. So this Packers team, though they're 3-0 against spread, 2-1 straight up here, they really have not been battle tested whatsoever, whereas Detroit had to play Kansas City, right? Then they had to play the Seahawks, who always seem to play them really tough. They do catch the L there, but still played a fine game against them, right? That's an overtime away from them potentially winning that game. And then they beat Atlanta 20-6, who Atlanta beat Green Bay 25-24 just a week ago. So I do think there's a little bit of discrepancy here. Again, we may be safe with the Lions on the money line, but I don't mind them dropping the 2 points here. If this was 3.5, I'd definitely, reconsider, because I think it's going to be a closer game. And obviously Vegas agrees, but I do like the Lions to pull this one out. So that is pick number one. We're looking at the Lions either on the money line. You can get that for minus 130-ish right now, which isn't that crazy of juice. It is in the football world, but like just sports betting overall, maybe not. But I don't mind the 1.5 points. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see which of those we end up rolling with here. And then for our first player prop, we'll jump into Outlier, guys. If you want access to this tool, you can get 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment. 7 days free. After that, it's pretty cheap too. $19.99 per month. If you use this correctly, you can pretty much, this will pay for itself in no time. I love the Outlier tool, and they have so much damn stuff coming down the road. I've already got access to some of their beta programs and whatnot. Really, really cool. Go check it out. Link in the pinned comment. But I'm looking at Jaden Reed here, over 3.5 receptions, plus 116 over on Caesars. Any odds changes will update in the pinned comment, but he's hit this only once of his 3 games this season. Not all that great, obviously, but last week having 3 receptions too, 1 away from getting to cashing, and you're getting plus money for this. But what I like is the target share here. He's averaging, in terms of his target share is near 30% in terms of what we're looking at. Again, 45 passing, 7 targets last week, 26 passing in week 2, 8 targets, 28 in week 1, 5 targets. He's averaging nearly 30% of his target share here. And just look at his targets overall. Yes, he's dropping some of these, which is, I would say, drops on his end, because I just looked at it too. 90% of the balls thrown to him are considered accurate passes. But 7 targets, 8 targets, and 5 targets over these few weeks here. His lowest target allotment was week 1, when this team obviously didn't need to really go out there and throw the ball a lot in the second half of that game. In 2 closer games, he's getting plenty of targets. I like the spot here, and for plus money. Now, like I said, I have a couple leans as well in this spot. And I also, by the way, he plays slot receiver plenty. I think it's like 66% of the time. Though Branch is a really good defensive back, the slot corner here for Detroit, I do think Jaden's shiftiness and everything like that can create some separation. And obviously, Branch being a fairly aggressive defender as well, if he bites on one of these moves, I think Reed's going to be open a few times here, 2 or 3 times, which if he catches those balls, we're well on our way to the over 3.5. But in terms of what we're looking at also on him, I really don't hate his receiving yards. Similar, reverberation of what I'm talking about. He's hit this in 3 straight games, and I love the targets here as well, and I do think he gets separation tonight. And then I also think, and the reason we're taking receptions instead of the receiving yards is because I do like the plus 116 odds versus the minus 114, and I think that he can catch a couple short passes and cash this one versus he needs pretty much 40 yards of game here to catch this one. Seems a little bit more difficult to me, but I also don't hate him considering him on the touchdown line here. Look at these odds right now. If you go on DraftKings, plus 400, this is plus 200 on BetMGM, so there's a little bit of discrepancy there. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we do roll with that. When we look at his red zone target share over the last couple games here, he's averaging 40%. He got 50% of them 2 weeks ago, and then 30% of them last week when they had 10 red zone targets. And they do that little sweep that I think, a lot of teams, I guess, ended up sort of patenting, but that one where the wide receiver goes in motion right across the quarterback goes doop in a little pass, right? Even though it's kind of like a handoff. They've done that a couple times, and he scored on it last week. So I like him to potentially go in there and score a touchdown as well. But the main play in this, what is a final play right now, is going to be his over 3.5 receptions. And then for our third player prop here, our second player prop here, we're jumping back into Outlier. I like Sam Laporta over 4.5 receptions, again for plus money. So now that's 2 player props that we're rolling with for plus money. Is a little risky? Yeah, you could say that, but I do like the chances here. His targets are only getting higher. He caught 5 for 5 in week number 1, then 5 for 6 2, and then he caught 8 of his 11 against against Atlanta last week. And we've seen even Cole Kmet play well against this this Packers defense here, who I think Sam Laporta's better than him. Give me the over for plus 120 odds. You can compare it to plus 118 and plus 116 over on the other books. Again, I think that this is just going to come down to a volume play. I think that, if we do indeed see Green Bay trying to get to the quarterback here, in which they're the fourth best team this year at quarterback hurries, I think Sam Laporta is going to be that sort of quick outlet, maybe a five-yard hitch type of a play. And this is a big dude. This is a good player. So that is going to be our 3 picks here, guys. Last week, if you missed this one, we did have our ride of the day. Our ride of the day ended up cashing. Cha-ching was coming in from user. It was Nick Bosa over 0.5 sacks. He gets his first sack of the season. So if you're still watching, make sure to use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a pick. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, and I'll give you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. And if you are still watching right now, go ahead and comment 10 as we approach the 10-minute mark. Comment 10 for good luck. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.